choosing to join us online today. My name is Pastor Benny McDonald, and I'm so thankful that you made us a priority here online. If you'd like to join us in person, we'd love to have you. You can join us at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning for our Sunday morning worship service, or on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We have discipleship, and we also have service here in the sanctuary. And the first Wednesday of every month, we have Triumph Life Groups. We meet house to house to celebrate together. It's an amazing, incredibly fun opportunity and a great way to share the gospel. So we look forward to seeing you however you choose to join us.
Hey, this is Pastor Matthew Newton letting you know that Wednesdays at the Church Triumphant are truly life-giving and designed for the whole family. We have our discipleship classes happening all across our campus. Our youth are upstairs in the chapel, our kids are in classrooms, and Pastor Cisco is in the main sanctuary, giving us revelation that truly has the ability to change our life and transform us. So join us for Wednesday Night Recharge, Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Hey TCT family, thank you for joining us on the live stream. We are so excited about what God is going to do in your life. If you have a prayer request, put it in the comments. You can also fill out a Connect card or give online through there. We hope you enjoy the rest of the service.
Thank you for choosing to join us online today. My name is Pastor Benny McDonald, and I'm so thankful that you made us a priority here online. If you'd like to join us in person, we'd love to have you. You can join us at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning for our Sunday morning worship service, or on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We have discipleship, and we also have service here in the sanctuary. And the first Wednesday of every month, we have Triumph Life Groups. We meet house to house to celebrate together. It's an amazing, incredibly fun opportunity and a great way to share the gospel. So we look forward to seeing you however you choose to join us.
Hey, this is Pastor Matthew Newton letting you know that Wednesdays at the Church Triumphant are truly life-giving and designed for the whole family. We have our discipleship classes happening all across our campus. Our youth are upstairs in the chapel, our kids are in classrooms, and Pastor Cisco is in the main sanctuary, giving us revelation that truly has the ability to change our life and transform us. So join us for Wednesday Night Recharge, Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Hey TCT family, thank you for joining us on the live stream. We are so excited about what God is going to do in your life. If you have a prayer request, put it in the comments. You can also fill out a Connect card or give online through there. We hope you enjoy the rest of the service.
Thank you for choosing to join us online today. My name is Pastor Benny McDonald, and I'm so thankful that you made us a priority here online. If you'd like to join us in person, we'd love to have you. You can join us at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning for our Sunday morning worship service, or on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We have discipleship, and we also have service here in the sanctuary. And the first Wednesday of every month, we have Triumph Life Groups. We meet house to house to celebrate together. It's an amazing, incredibly fun opportunity and a great way to share the gospel. So we look forward to seeing you however you choose to join us.
Hey, this is Pastor Matthew Newton letting you know that Wednesdays at the Church Triumphant are truly life-giving and designed for the whole family. We have our discipleship classes happening all across our campus. Our youth are upstairs in the chapel. Our kids are in classrooms. And Pastor Cisco is in the main sanctuary and giving us revelation that truly has the ability to change our life and transform us. So join us for Wednesday Night Recharge, Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Hey TCT family, thank you for joining us on the live stream. We are so excited about what God is going to do in your life. If you have a prayer request, put it in the comments. You can also fill out a Connect card or give online through there. We hope you enjoy the rest of the service.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. You guys are like fanned way out. I'm going to just turn the whole time. Welcome to week 2 of Jesus Over Everything. Those of you that were here last week, did you enjoy it? Wasn't it fun? This is probably one of my favorite formats that we do throughout the year, so I always learn something and I retain it. I was just telling Rosie, I still do a couple things from the last book that we covered, so hopefully this book will be the same. Does anybody in the room, did you guys buy the book or no? Yeah, some of you. I think they restocked in the cafe, so you're welcome to buy one there or on Amazon. Or you can order online, so we welcome you tonight, and we welcome all of our online guests. We're so happy you're here. Did everybody get a handout? All right, we're going to get to it. This week, I'm real over pretty, and chapter 7 is honesty over hiding. And when Sister Kimberly asked if I would participate and she suggested the chapter, I was immediately in because if I'm honest, I'm probably a little too real. So I'm going to rein it in so it's not awkward later when we're talking. I'll just be just enough. But this is a concept that I am very passionate about, being real over pretty. And it's something that I feel like it's a battle that I fought for a very long time, and I feel like I've won. So hopefully I can share something with you. But it's important first to define what real and pretty mean in the context of this book. Basically, real just means to be humble and truthful, okay? And pretty just means being consumed by the perception of others. Does anybody else ever battled that? Do you care what people think? It is something that I battled for a long time, so I'm going to be honest. We're about to get real quick, and then I'm going to bring it back up, okay? We're just going to jump in. But I spent many years being consumed with how others perceived me. And I worked very hard to become what I thought the world considered pretty. Honestly, I was just desperate to shrink myself. I felt like I'm a lot. I don't know if y'all know that, but I'm a lot. My husband's not here yet, so he can't amen it. But I'm a little extra, but I spent a long time, the book talks about physically, the girl in the book struggled with her physical appearance, and I did too. And it really attached to me at a very early age in 5th grade. And I don't really remember what brought it on, but we're getting real. I developed an eating disorder that started in 5th grade. And I battled it into my 30s. I know you think I'm in my 30s now, but I'm not. But it's something that I battled, and I think it's important to note that even though I battled something and I had a weakness, I still worked for God. God didn't disqualify me because I was broken, but it did limit how high I could go in God. It didn't prevent me from serving, but it did limit my capability, and I never stepped into my full calling. But not only did I try to shrink my physical body, but I tried to shrink my personality. And if it's, maybe you don't know me yet, but I'm a little bit loud. I'm a little bit assertive and bold. I'm a free speaker. I like to say I'm a leader, but most people think I'm bossy. But I really wanted to be less. I wanted to be meek and demure and presentable and easier to take, and I felt like a lot of my friends were all of those things, and I just wasn't. And it was, honestly, when I thought of this today, I'll tell you what I pictured. If you guys watched Cinderella, the cartoon, you guys remember the ugly stepsister and the giant 11.5 size foot that tried to cram into that cute little size 6 slipper? That was me. I was the 11.5 size foot of the ugly stepsister trying to squeeze myself into a size 6 very cute glass slipper. It just didn't work. And it was embarrassing, and it's something that I never achieved. And I think I settled into my my personality faster than I settled myself with my physical. But it's something that eventually I gave God complete control over, and I feel like I have a handle on it. There were times that it controlled every part of my life. And I don't know if you're familiar, hopefully you're not familiar with eating disorders, but now you know that I've battled it. And if you are, or you have a kid that deals with it, I can talk to them about it. And that's the point of things we go through, is to help somebody else. But, so I understood the real over pretty. I stayed in a state of denial, and I refused to be who he created me to be and what he called me to be. And what resulted was a lot of missed opportunities and a lot of wasted time. Yes, I reached people, but could I have reached more? Absolutely. So I limited myself. And the book said it this way. I thought this was great, and I'm going to quote it. I didn't know how to be me because I didn't understand the process of becoming. Too often, the unfinished us is blind to what the Spirit-shaped us can be over time. That's a very powerful statement. Becoming is a process. And for us, we're always becoming. There's not a deadline. You don't officially arrive. We're always developing. But I was so determined to arrive that I tried to fit myself into something I was not meant to be. But now I understand that we're still becoming, and that's very powerful. If you can grasp that, you'll be fine. In order to live the Jesus over everything life, we have to take our eyes off of ourselves and fix them on him. When you're consumed with pretty, that's all about self. It's what people think. You're so hung up on what's visible. But if you can ever fix your eyes on him and put him back in the spotlight, then you can really become real. We're just a vessel. He's the source, right? We're just his hands and feet. We're the physical representation of who he is. Yes, he could appear and do all the things, and that'd probably freak everybody out, so he uses us. So if we can acknowledge that he is the source and we are the vessel, then we can understand real over pretty. Did you know the church is not called to be pretty? It's not. The world craves real. Who appreciates real? I would much rather hang around with somebody that's going to tell me like it is and be transparent than somebody that I cannot live up to. It's too much pressure. I can't do it. I'm going to have to be around real people, and the church is called to be that. We're not called to be pretty. We're called to reach broken and hurting and lost people. And if our churches are perfect and they're filled with pretty, there is no room for broken. Imagine, we're all at a different space in our life, I feel like. I know we have ups and downs, but we're better than we used to be, right? We've been here a minute. Imagine walking in at the bottom, looking up, and then all you see is a bunch of pretty faces with no cracks, with nothing, no blemishes. That feels like there's no room for somebody that's broken. Our job when people walk in that state is to say, I see you, I've been you, and let me tell you what God did, right? That's the whole point. If we hide that, if we're not real with who we used to be, then we're not walking in our full calling. The church is a hospital. It's a place for hurting and broken people. It's for hopeless people. And it's not, you guys have heard this 1,000 times, it's not a museum of saints. This is not a walk-through exhibit to see what we look like and where, look at us now, we've arrived. That's not the point at all. In fact, when guests walk into TCT, it needs to feel like home, right? And I think most of our people say that. That's such a comment we get on Connect cards, and I love that. That means we're doing our job. It should not feel like a brand new dating relationship. What does a dating relationship look like? Girls never eat, right? We don't eat, we don't do things like that. We're just, naturally, we don't have to eat. And the guys always have flowers, and they always get the door, and we're just our best. It's our best, our best. That is not how it should feel like when you walk into our church. It should not feel like a brand new dating relationship, and I put it this way. When somebody new comes to my house that's never been, I'm excited, and I'm going to clean everything, okay? But I'm going to be real honest with you. My pillows may have the really cool karate chop. That's going to happen. I'm going to have a candle burning, but I'm going to tell you, And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to ruin your clothes if you sit on my couch, but please don't lick my floor because it's not that clean. Okay? And if you watch it, you'll slip into that hole on my love seat. Because it's not about how beautiful everything is. It's about how you feel when you walk in. And I want people to feel comfortable. We have to acknowledge that we're normal people with a junk drawer. Or if Jess is nodding at me, she knows me so well. Or we all have that room or closet where we shove everything. For me, it's the laundry room when the guests come over. Okay? All the things are in there if you're looking for it. That's where it is. That's who we are. We're just people with junk drawers. We have to be that so people feel like they can attain who we think we are. Did you know that Jesus was not pretty? That's what the Bible says. It doesn't give us a lot of details, but it describes him as average. And I know that people have speculated what he looked like. And in fact, the book, Miss Lisa gave her description, but it was so different than the description that Pastor gave a few weeks ago. I'm going to go with Pastor's. I feel like he's probably seen Jesus. Don't we think that? So I didn't factor that in, but it was very different. But the fact is, people were not attracted to Jesus because of his beautiful hair or his big muscles. It was none of that. It was not his chiseled jaw. It was how they felt in his presence. It was the time that he took to give them specific attention and connect and make them feel seen and heard. It was his kindness. It was the miracles he performed. It was how he was welcoming and approachable. That is our example. That's what we're supposed to be. And although he was not pretty physically, he was the epitome of beautiful. And if you look on the back of your paper, I'm just going to hit a couple of them, and I encourage you to go back and look at the scriptures attached with this at the top of the page. We won't take time to do all that, but go back and study it and see what it says. But although he was not physically beautiful, he had beautiful strength. He was tempted, but he didn't give in to it. He had beautiful self-control. He denied himself in order to do what God wanted him to. I love this one. He was a beautiful leader. He was the ultimate sacrifice, and he went first. He gave it all. And he was beautifully empathetic and kind. When he could have pulled rank, he chose not to. On the cross, we all heard it. He could have called 10,000 angels. He could have zapped them all with his fingertip. I think that would have been fun. But he didn't do it. He chose to stay right where he was and be the ultimate example. And that's what we're called to be. That's the kind of beautiful we're called to be. Do you know the cross wasn't pretty? There was nothing beautiful about the cross. It was brutal, it was bloody, it was humbling, and it was holy. But it was real. And it took something so worn and so sacrificial to bring about real change. And that's what real does. In the Bible, it talks about how God sought out the broken and the rejected. And I just love this. And this is what we're supposed to do. The woman at the well, it talks about her in John chapter 4. She was despised. She was rejected by society. But God had an appointment to meet her at the well one morning. She felt seen and validated by him. He knew who she was, and he knew the sin that she was in. The Bible said she had 5 husbands, and the one she was with was not her own. So I decided today that she probably went to that well for a break. She probably needed a drink of water and a minute to herself. What she didn't know is that she would meet her destiny there. And this is worth pointing out. Before he addressed her sin, he addressed her physical need. People cannot hear you talk about a soul that needs saving if they're hungry. So first he addressed the need of her physical thirst. And then he gave her access to a well that never runs dry. That's our job. Sometimes we think people walk in and let's just tackle that sin and get that out of you and get you right and holy, right? That is not how it works. People come in broken and hurting and hungry and needy. We experienced that this past week, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. I was very humbled by it. When a lady came in so broken and in need. And you know what? We gave her kids snacks, and I gave them my phone and Netflix. Guess what? She got the Holy Ghost. She may not have been able to do that with a lot of physical restraint that happened with some of us, because she had 2 very sweet children, or 4, and 2 of them were autistic. But in that moment, she didn't need me to tell her that her life was no good. She needed me to hold her baby and give him some chips and give him some water. But that opened the door to meet her spiritual need. What about Zacchaeus? Zacchaeus, the wee little man. I sang this song the entire day, and I will not do it right now. But the Sunday school song, he was overlooked and he was disliked. And I decided that he probably overcompensated for his physical shortcomings by becoming a chief tax collector. If you're going to be hated, you may as well be a boss. Right? I mean, it was a choice he made. Jesus was surrounded by throngs of admiring fans, people probably that had so much more to offer, a better place for him to visit, probably influential friends that probably smelled better and were a lot kinder. But what did he do? He stopped and he looked up and he connected with a guy that everybody hated. And he went to his house and he hung out. And they had a meal. And before it was over, Zacchaeus asked for forgiveness and then he offered half of his wealth. And God responded as only God can. And he said, today, salvation has come to this house because this man too is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. If the Son of Man came to seek and save, that's what we have to do. Those that are rejected, those that are unloved and unkind, and all the things that we would rather run from, that's what we have to connect on. What we learn from these lessons is that we don't have to be pretty and we don't have to pretend in front of Jesus, because guess what? He already knows. He already knows we work so hard to be something we're not, when it's so freeing to just be who you are. Just own it. And I thought of this, when people come in broken, how can we explain our present wholeness if we're not willing to share our past brokenness? When we're saved and redeemed and delivered and free of a horrible past, nobody wants to revisit that. But what was the purpose? What was the purpose? Why hide what will bring somebody so close to God? We have to be willing to talk about past brokenness. We're all born with gaps and voids. We all carry heartache. We all come from circumstances, some of our own choosing, and some as a result of the decision of others. We all have that God-shaped gap. But I encourage you to thank God for it, because our lack is necessary to make room for his abundance. Think about that. If I had it all, if I didn't have a need, if I didn't have a physical need, if I didn't battle the real truth that I gave you in the beginning, if I didn't battle an eating disorder for all those years and despise who I was, if I came into the world whole and happy and complete, why would we need a Savior? And now maybe you're going to know somebody that's in the same place, and please give them my number, because I know how to get through that one. We all have different trials that we're trusted with, and the choice is what do we do with it when we've won the trial? So real over pretty is always the way to be. It's what works. All right, I'm doing 2 chapters, so we're going to jump to chapter 7. Honesty over hiding. Okay, these two go hand in hand, but this chapter tackles what we all battle and face, that human need to hide our faults and mistakes and avoid embarrassment and judgment and maybe disappointing people we love or tarnishing our image. That's natural, but there is a better way to go. And those of you that read the book, at the beginning of the chapter, the author talks about the confession she made to her mom during her college years. Did you guys read that? Y'all, I went right back to the fall of 1999, when I too had a confession moment with my mother. And it was at the end of a weekend. I was headed back to Shreveport, and I was, new into adulthood. I was independent and 18, and I was capable of that because my mom paid my rent like a good mama would for her adult child. And before I left, I said, Mom, I'd really like to talk to you a minute. And she said, of course. So we sat down at the bar in the kitchen. I can literally picture it like yesterday. I know what we had on. And I just bravely just started listing all these transgressions that I'd hidden so well through my teenage years and current ones in my college years. And I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, well, she can't punish me because I'm grown. I mean, what can she do? Well, everything. She literally could have destroyed me. But I got about two sins in, and she holds her hand up. And she said, please stop. And I was like, oh, God, what's going to happen? I'm about to lose my car. And she said, did you really think I didn't know? And I was like, well, see, I grew up with a mom that had this is true, the spiritual gift of discernment and prophecy, and I do not say that as a joke. I don't know if any of you had that kind of mom, and it was zero fun, okay? So, I mean, there were so many times I'm going to head out and I'm going to just, do something, and she's like, I'm going to need you not to do these things right here. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, God, give me a chance. So when I didn't get in trouble for the things that I was going to list, I just knew that, I'd obviously gotten it over on her and him, and I was wrong. So she finished the list, missing nothing, and she even added a couple that I'd forgotten. And I'm telling you, I was like, this is really not how I planned it. And I asked her, I'm like, how in the world did you not punish me through? And I need y'all to know I wasn't like terrible. Okay, I don't need any amens from the Logan corner either, but I wasn't like the worst sinner in the world, but I had done some stuff, okay? Things that I shouldn't have done. And I'm like, how did you not punish me? And she said this. She said, because the fear of being found out was punishment enough. Y'all, I had many nights of travail and intercession in my bedroom, and obviously God had answered because I didn't get in trouble. And all those times, I'm telling you, the absolute fear of, fake repentance later when you might just do that thing again. But I was troubled in my teens, and she knew that was punishment enough. But I thought about that story, and that's how God is. Do we think he doesn't know? I mean, how good are we really at hiding this? And the job of the enemy is to cripple us with fear and keep us in hiding to convince us that all will be lost if we're honest. It's just too risky. But God, like my precious mother, who in fact did pay my rent again and let me keep my car, extends grace. God always extends grace. And I remember a while back we did a campaign for prodigals, and we'd been praying about it, and I was praying for prodigals, and I prayed, Lord, like, what's the hindrance? Why wouldn't people want to come back? Like, if, you've walked away, and don't you long to be back in his presence? And he said this to me, and I never forgot it, and it changed me. He said, they're not scared of my presence, they're scared of yours. Think about that. Of course people want to return to the presence of God. Why wouldn't they? But there's a block, and it's all of us. It's all of us. We are the thing that people are scared of. But I want to tell you a secret. We kind of build that up a lot bigger in our mind than it is, because most times people extend grace too. We don't believe they will because maybe we're reluctant to extend it. But besides God's grace, people they're very forgiving. And for the minority that do judge, that's just God's answer of saying, hey, maybe they don't need as much access to you. And that's okay too. Boundaries are fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you know that God cannot heal what we will not reveal? Not reveal to him. He knows it. He already knows it. But if we're not willing to acknowledge the need of a healing, he's a gentleman. He's never going to force his way. He's never going to force his way. He's patient, and he waits for us to ask. And it made me think of this. We're so silly and juvenile sometimes. I thought, how a baby hides behind a blanket and thinks nobody can see it? And the parent just buys right in. Y'all, we're just babies behind blankets. That's all we are. God sees us. We're not hiding from anybody, but we delay healing because our desire to be healed is not greater than our fear of being honest. We're too scared. And because of that, we pay a price. We delay so much in our life, just like I delayed things in my life. I delayed walking in his full calling and what he wanted and created me to be. I delayed it, and I missed opportunities. And only the enemy can make fear seem easier than healing. I mean, think about that. Think about that. We're so naive sometimes. We're easy prey, I feel like, and we set ourselves up for that, but we can do better. But it's important to know what to expect as you move from honesty or to honesty from hurting, because this is very real. And that's a journey you'll take back and forth. You should know that. We're still on planet Earth and not in heaven, so there are some battles that we're just going to have to decide over and over. It's not a one and done. So it's important to know this, because knowledge is power, and you can arm yourself with strength. When you decide to go from hurting to honesty, you can expect to feel exposed. Nobody likes to be exposed, especially when you work so hard to hide, because honesty makes us vulnerable. It's uncomfortable, and hiding is just safe and comfortable. It's familiar. We see it as protection, and we resist the urge to remain. We have to resist the urge to remain in hiding by reminding yourself of this truth. Ephesians 5:8, for once you were full of darkness, but now you have light from the Lord. So live as people in the light. That's a choice. We can choose to live in the light and have a moment of being uncomfortable or feeling exposed, but change is only change for a minute and then it's normal. Or we can remain closed off and hidden. Choose to live in the light. The second thing you can expect to want to hide again. It seems ridiculous because once you've experienced freedom, the freedom of honesty, you would think just like one visit in the land of freedom would be enough to take the temptation of hiding away, but we're just dumb humans, y'all. Something's going to crop up, and you're like, I'm going to need to go back in that hole. It was just so comfortable and cozy. In fact, it was not. It was crippling. But you can expect to want to hide again. For some reason, hiding can pull at us like a magnet. It's something that's so hard to resist. But if we're going to arm ourselves with the truths of what to expect when we try to make the journey from hiding to honesty, then let's talk about the benefits. Peace. There is nothing so priceless as the peace of God. Nothing. And you can only appreciate it if you've ever been in a place where you didn't find peace. The false comfort of hiding that hiding offers cannot remotely compare to the perfect peace of God. I mean, it's indescribable. What about hope? A clean conscience brings hope for a God-led future, and it destroys the yoke of shame and guilt. My beginning of a confession to my mother, even though it panned out like it did, which I should have expected, I left with a clean conscience. That stuff had been bothering me for a while. And the shame and guilt of it was removed. She still loved me. It was all out in the open, and I probably messed up again later, and she knew about it. But there's freedom in a clean conscience, and that's where hope lives. What about joy? When you have those moments in freedom in being honest, never forget what true joy feels like. Not temporary happiness, not the thrill of a good deal or whatever your thrill, a donut, I don't know. Mine's coffee and so many things. But that's temporary. That just fades. The joy of the Lord is permanent. That's a place you can live and grow. There's lightness, there's relief. It's that ability to breathe deep and it doesn't hurt. You know, when you've been in hiding so long and you're cramped and you think you're doing a good thing, but really you just can't even breathe deep. There's freedom. Joy brings that. The enemy will sell hiding as a way to protect ourselves and others. What a lie. It's a complete lie, because hiding is just a delay tactic like we talked about before, and it's a thief. It delays your ability to move in your calling, and it steals your freedom, your peace, your joy, and your hope. So I want to say this to you. Give yourself grace. How often do we offer grace to everybody around us? Just grace for us all, for you and me and the stranger and the pastor, and everybody gets grace, but when it comes to us, we're so slow to offer grace. that is a tool of the enemy. Why do we need it less? Why do we deserve it less? We deserve it just like everybody else, but sometimes it's not the lack of grace from others. It's just from ourselves, to ourselves. The enemy is persistent, but what does the Bible say? Greater is he. He's persistent, but he's not powerful. He's just nagging. I mean, a mosquito can keep you up at night, but it can't take you out. But boy, it can keep you awake. That's persistence. That's nothing permanent. That's persistence. And until you take that thing out, it's going to keep you up. It's the same. The enemy is persistent. And it's a choice. You have to choose peace. You have to choose hope. And you have to choose joy. It seems easy. Like, why in the world would we not choose these things automatically? But it's because of our human nature that we literally have to choose this day by day, sometimes minute by minute. We have to understand that this is a process that we will never perfect. We may become proficient at it, and that's good, so that the journey is shorter maybe every time you do that, but we never perfect it because we're human. So we're going to address the elephant in the room. This is not an us versus them or a sinner versus saint. Do you know that God does not have a ranking system for sins? He doesn't. It's not like, okay, these addictions, real bad. This is okay. Like you can get a toe into heaven. It doesn't work like that. You don't get like 5 freebies of minimal sins. It doesn't work that way. There is no ranking system. Sin is sin. But we tend to rank sin, right? That's such a human thing to do. But some addictions are invisible. The one that I shared with you, they maybe could see a physical change in me, but they didn't know what I battled in the dark. That was something that I kept to myself. That was between me and the enemy of my soul. And God knew. He was present, but I didn't allow him in. But some addictions are obvious. Well, it's not fair to say that's worse sin just because we can see it. I mean, how would you like to progress and change in a fishbowl? You know, the sins that we hide, we can just battle those privately. That's very different. So let's talk about a few of the hidden sins. What about the poison of pride? Is pride less a sin than addiction to heroin? I don't know. It seems bad to me. Pride can take you out. Pride can keep you out of heaven. What about the shallow lip service that we offer in place of true worship? What about just the tradition and the ritual and the up and down and the 2 songs and we're going to worship and offering and, that process? That's a lie. That's automatic. We're not even choosing to do this. It's autopilot. What about living beneath your potential and calling because you despise and resist who he really called you to be? I hampered my life for, I'm not going to do the math, y'all. That's not what I do. But I was 11 to into my 30s. That's a really long time. I limited my calling for a very long time. I did some good things, but what could I have done? What could I have done? That's sin. That's sin. What about those hidden sins that only happen in isolation and in the dark? That's when we find ourselves at our weakest, and that's where the enemy likes to attack. But we don't bring those to church with us. We're going to leave that at the house, right? Or what about the way we look down and judge others that sin differently than us? That's the same. And this is how we justify it. Well, I don't do it all the time, like a part-time sinner, right? It's not that bad. I mean, it's not like I'm whatever. I mean, I'm better than they are, to their knowledge. It could be so much worse. That's true. It could be visible, I guess, and we could all see it. But a half-truth is a whole lie. A half-truth is a whole lie, and there's no such thing as part-time honesty. So because we're on this side of heaven, we're going to have to choose and understand that we have to choose day by day, maybe even minute by minute, a Jesus over everything life. Because that's the solution to all this. This battle of real and pretty, the battle of honesty to hiding, it's just out of order priorities. That's it. So that's something, I mean, how many wake up with the same priority list every day? Anybody? No, me neither. I had one priority today. It was this. That's all. I made cookies and I did this. That's it. I got my kid from school. That's all. I didn't do any work. I forgot the laundry, all the plans I had. You know why? It wasn't my priority. But guess what? I prayed today. Right? Priority number one. Now, tomorrow, I don't have to teach tomorrow night, so I'm going to have to really prioritize some prayer. I'm probably going to get up and do the laundry. It's the difference. It's priorities. Jesus over everything means Jesus over everything, not conditional on an event like tonight. I'm so preaching to myself. I hope you're getting that. We have a couple more things, and then we're done. I've hit my limit. There are a few lies that get disguised as love that keep us in hiding. Here's one. If I speak my truth, it will cause pain to somebody I love. Think about that. There's been some situations in my life that I hid for a very long time to protect somebody I loved. Was that okay? Was that honest? It's still a lie, and that's not love. That's just being trapped by somebody else's hiding. It's still choosing. What about this? I'm protecting those I love by keeping their secrets. Secrets are rarely good. Secrets are rarely good. And it's not true protection. But you can think you're doing this from a noble place. But covering others at the expense of your soul is not loyalty. Think about that. That's not loyal. It's a thief. We talked about it robs you of his peace and hope and joy. You know what? It also robs the other party of a potential radical life change, from full redemption, healed relationships. Everybody's being robbed in the process. God is the only one that can handle other people's lives. Guess what? We just don't have that much power. I'm struggling with my own, I'm going to be honest. You know what, I'm going to declare, I could probably handle some of your lives better than my own. I'm real good at that. But we're only expected and required to take care of ourselves with his help. We have to put the souls of others, the protection of others, into his hands. We're not God. So we're going to end it this way. The real opposite of hiding is more than honesty. It's living a life managed by God rather than us. It's relinquishing the reins to someone way more capable. It's giving the wheel to a much better driver. I say, Jesus, take the wheel about 47 times a day. But I actually say, Jesus, take all the wheels, because I mean the 4 tires and the steering wheel. Because I have a tendency, if I can just keep my finger on one, he's probably going to need my help. He's busy, right? Like, he needs me. We have to turn that over to God. We're just not that good at it. I need to be completely honest and say he can drive way better than I can. The opposite of hiding and true honesty is quitting a job that you're unqualified for and allowing an expert to take your place. Anybody know an expert that's better at you, better at everything than you? If I have an amen from my husband, I'm going to punch him. He is way better at a lot of, not driving, let me be clear. But we have access to the expert. He can do it all. We think we can do it all. We're so self-important and so overqualified and, capable. But what are we? We're nothing. He's the expert. That's truly being led by the Spirit, and it's living a life with Jesus over everything, and ultimately it's freedom. Anybody ever felt freedom before? True freedom. If you've ever been bound by anything, you know what freedom feels like. And there's nothing that can take its place. So, we're going to break out into discussion groups in just a second, but I want to encourage you to give Jesus control. Just try it. I tried it today. I had the best day. I just prayed and studied. Nobody was there, and that's probably why it was real good. But give Jesus a chance. He's waiting on our permission. Can you imagine? He's waiting on our permission. So we're going to stop the live feed, and we're going to break out into guys and girls. Did everybody get a handout? Raise your hand if you didn't get a handout. Anybody? Okay. there, William, if you want to grab a few off that bistro table, if you'll raise your hand, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to grab you a paper. I just voluntold him right there. That was powerful. So thank you for joining us online. We're going to discontinue the feed, and I will upload this handout later if you guys want to look at it. But in the house, if we could put the girls to the right and the guys to the left. Last week we made groups of about 6, 7, or 8, and we want you to just go through these discussion questions. You can form your own groups, or I can assign. What do I need to do? And then we'll come back at the end.